Welcome back to the podcast. You are listening to Stuff No One Told Us About Weight Loss. My name is Aaron and I'm here with Eloise, and today we're going to be talking about how to review, reflect, look back on the year that has been.
So this is a process that we do ourselves for both our business and our personal lives each year, and it's something that I think is really helpful to really tie a bow on the year and then move forward into next year, because I think otherwise the years start to blend in together. You start to lose track of time and lose track of whether you are actually progressing in life. I know that's something for me that I find that if I do a review and an assessment of the year, I'm able to go, okay, here's how the year went, here's what I did well, here's what I want to improve on next year, and it gives me a really good focus to move forward.
Yeah, I think it's a really good time to look back at everything that you have done and really address where you're sort of at. And a lot of times it can actually be quite difficult to actually see on paper and see in front of you where you may not have put energy, time and focus into, and you've let goals go that at the start of the year or like a couple of months ago you really wanted to achieve. So I think it's really good to get really honest with yourself and do this process.
And that's a really big point, I think, as well. I know that for me, in the past, getting honest with myself about these things has been really difficult. And I know that it is for a lot of us, because it's hard to go, well, at the start of the year, I set all these goals and look, I didn't achieve them.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. But to me, what's harder is sitting in that avoidance. And we have a whole podcast episode on avoidance. But to me, it's more difficult to sit in avoidance and sweep it under the rug and then go year after year after year, never progressing.
Yeah.
Because you're just dancing around the truth of your situation. To me, that's more difficult. Looking back and going, wow, the past 5 years of my life have not gone according to plan, versus this year didn't go according to plan. Okay, how can I improve and move forward?
Yeah. It's always going to benefit you if you can actually look at where you're at, what you may or may not have done properly, and then look at ways that you can improve instead of just avoid it completely.
And the opposite to avoiding isn't judging.
Yeah.
You don't have to judge yourself, and in fact you should not judge yourself, because that's not helpful. We don't progress and move forward in meaningful ways from a place of judgment. It has to be from a place of curiosity. And again, this is something we spoke about in our last podcast episode on mindset shifts. We need to look at it from a place of, what can I learn from what happened? So this year didn't go according to plan. Sure, there were lockdowns and stuff, but let's not blame external circumstances. Let's look at what we had control over and how we showed up for ourselves and for the world around us this year. How did we show up and why? What can we learn from the way that we showed up? And so that's something to think about as you're listening to this episode, is rather than going, oh wow, like everything just went to shit and it was a bad year and lockdown happened and this and that, let's look at, okay, well, how did I show up last year and how do I want to show up moving forward? What can I learn? How can I get curious? How can I look at all areas of my life and move forward in a positive and productive way?
That's right. And the method that, really sort of how we do it, we actually use Brendon Burchard's high performance planner. And if you're watching the video version of this, you actually get to see it because we have it sitting right here.
It's something we've shared about in previous episodes as well, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. And this plan is really good because, well, basically Brendon Burchard really deals with high performance habits as his whole thing. Yeah. And he has a system that's really, really good. And we've adopted that and we use that every year when we do this review. And basically what we begin with is, you want to do a whole life assessment. So this is not just with fitness. It's not just to do with weight loss. This is everything. And so we're going to go through each of the points. And the way this works is, what you do is you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, how you would rate in a objective view. We're not trying to judge ourselves again. In an objective view, how you went this year with each of these categories, where you would rate yourself at the moment with each of these ones. Yeah,
and so the first category is health, which is very relevant to you if you're someone who's got a weight loss goal. But it goes beyond weight loss, because health is obviously a very broad topic. So it can also be your fitness goals. It can also be actual health, like medical issues or anything like that. But looking at your physical health, how did you go this year? How do you think that your health went?
Yeah. And what you want to do again, rate yourself between 1 and 10, where you feel you're at the moment, and what you felt 2021 or 20, whenever you're listening to this, how that went for you.
Yeah. And I think that you can look at it in a way of, how did I show up for my health? Not necessarily, is my health rated a 10 out of 10 now? But it's like, how did you show up for your health? Did you consistently engage in healthy habits? Did you improve any of your health markers this year? Did you lose some weight? Did you improve your fitness? Did you improve, maybe you got bloods done with the doctor. Did they improve? Yeah. Or did you just eat a little bit healthier? Did you drink a bit more water? Did you get more sleep? Whatever it is for you, look at all of those different areas and rate how you showed up for those areas on a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah. The next area is mental/emotional. So this is, your attitude to life in general, to everything that you've done. Now, I know with the last 2 years that have been, for a lot of people, this is an area where they might feel they're on the lower end of the spectrum. But again, what you want to do is, what was your intention to create the result that you wanted with this? So were you intentionally doing things for your mindset, for your mental and emotional state that made you feel content or feel good? Or were you just letting external circumstances dictate then how you were thinking about things and then how you were feeling about it? So the next category is partner/love. So this is with your significant other. How much time and effort have you put into maintaining those relationships? Now, depending on if you are single, maybe this could be someone that is like a best friend to you, or someone that you have a close relationship with. How much time have you spent cultivating and maintaining those relationships?
So the next topic is family. And this is thinking back to, how did you show up for your family this year? Were your family a priority? Did you prioritize connecting with your family despite things like lockdown? Did you still speak to them regularly? Or was it something that was on your mind and something that you were thinking about?
That's right. And even if you didn't make time for that, if you have a lower score, that's fine too. Again, don't judge yourself with it. Just make sure that it is an objective view. So if you know that you probably could have spent more time reaching out to them or sending them a message or ringing them on the phone, put that down.
Well, it's like the point of all of this, though, is not to rate yourself a 10 out of 10, because if you rated yourself a 10 out of 10 in all categories, I'd probably be like, maybe you're lying.
Yeah.
The point is not to get a perfect score. The point is to look at what areas of my life need my focus most moving forward. And I think that's something to think about as well when you're rating these.
That's right. And so the next one is friends. So you've probably noticed the last 3 are to do with sort of your social connections.
Yeah.
Friends is another one that's on the list. How much time have you put into connecting with your friends and maintaining those sort of relationships? Have you, throughout lockdowns or whatever, have you contacted your friends and talked through, issues and spent time cultivating and maintaining those relationships?
And the next topic is mission. And mission is all about sort of like your mission in life. Often that becomes your career. Do you feel like you're fulfilled in the work that you do and the mission that you're carrying out in whatever way that looks like, whether it's your job or whether it's some other mission that you're doing as a hobby? Do you feel fulfilled and do you feel like you have a purpose there?
Yeah. The next one's experiences. So this is obviously what you see and experience in the world around you.
Yeah. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's the way I like to think about experiences, is did I do things just for fun this week?
Yeah.
Or this year?
How much joy are you creating for yourself through experiences?
Yeah. The next one is spirit, and this one can sound a little bit strange if you're not someone who's religious. But so this can go either way. It could be you connecting in a religious way if you are a person of faith, but it can also go the other way of, am I connected with myself? Am I connected to the present moment? Am I living in the present versus worrying about the past or worrying about the future? That's so I like to sometimes think about this in terms of both of those. Or if you're someone who's not religious, just think about it in terms of, am I being present with myself and people around me?
Yeah. Or even if you're, living in a way that's in alignment with the values that you have.
Yes.
So if we living in a way that's not congruent with those values, we often feel a lot of conflict, internal conflict going on. Yeah. So that would be a really good way of looking at spirit as well.
And was it something you even thought about?
Yeah.
Right? So if this wasn't something you thought about at all this year, maybe you give yourself a very low score, because now this can become something you think about moving forward.
Yeah.
So again, those low scores aren't a fail. They are hey, let's look at this next year.
It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
The next one is everyone's favorite. This is finances.
Probably an easy one to rate for most of us, I think. We sort of know whether we're happy or whether we're not.
Yeah. Sort of where are you at with your finances? That can be, whether you've actually spent time learning maybe new investments or other things like how to manage your money, how to grow your money.
Did you reduce some of your debt?
Yeah.
Little things like that. And in general, are you happy with how you managed your money this year?
Yeah.
And the last topic is learning. One of my personal favorites. Did you learn about something new this year? Did you learn a new skill? Did you learn more about yourself this year? Did you learn more about other people or the world? Where was learning on your priority list this year? And are you happy with how much you're learning and how much you're growing?
So those are the categories that you want to rate yourself between 1 and 10. And what you want to do, as we've said before, is if you do score lower on one of those particular areas, is make some notes on what are some things that you can see that you might be able to do to increase that number. And then also look at the things that you scored highly in and look at what are you doing consistently and what are you doing well that led you to give yourself a higher score. Because if we can figure those out, if we can do more of the stuff that we're already good at, that's going to be easier. It's going to help us move forward as well.
Yeah, I think it can be really helpful when you're writing down your score out of 10 for each category is to write down why you gave yourself that rating. So you can actually be clear in, okay, I've given myself a good rating because of X, Y, Z, or I've given myself a lower rating because I feel like I could have done better here. And I think that can be really helpful then when you're looking at, okay, how can I improve?
Yeah. So some of the examples from us that, we've achieved this year, some of the things that we did well, are things like we've launched a podcast. You're listening or you're watching this right now
to one of our wins for the year.
That's a win. That's a run on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Well, it's something we'd spoken about in previous years. And this year we actually took that action and made it happen.
Yeah. Another one for me is that I finished my Precision Nutrition Level 2 certification. That was a year of study.
Yep.
I finished that this year, so I'm really happy that I did that.
Yeah, exactly. And for anyone who's gone through lockdown, like us, we survived lockdown. We survived multiple lockdowns this year being in Melbourne. We survived with a positive attitude and our business survived and we're healthy, our family's healthy. That's a massive win on the board for us. Another one for me is, as you've heard me speak about before, I've improved my fitness a lot this year. I've racked up over 7,000 minutes on Peloton since June. And so that's one I'm excited to work towards more next year as well. But I count that as a massive win. Even though I'm not as fit as I would have loved to be, I've still improved a lot. And so that's still a massive win that I would count for myself.
And one of my wins in the fitness realm is that this year I competed in a strongman competition, and so did two of my other clients, which was a win for us because we had every intention of doing a comp and then it got cancelled because of the lockdown. So it was great to actually get that done, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And so I think we just wanted to share some of our wins to help you to think about the different areas of your life, maybe that you have wins in as well.
So moving on from the whole life assessment, this can be a big task. If you want to narrow this down, what is often really good if you have a weight loss goal to narrow it down and get more specific is you can take the same strategy and you can slightly adjust it. So what we have done is sort of come up with some successful habits assessment. So same concept, you want to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with each of these things for where you believe you're at right now and where you've sort of been over this year.
Yeah, and this is just getting really targeted with your weight loss goals specifically, which can be really helpful if you're not quite at your goal yet, because now you can look at, okay, here's how I showed up in 2021. How do I now want to improve in 2022?
Yeah.
The areas for assessing your weight loss progress, we've broken it down just into the major areas. So the first one is eating habits. How would you rate your eating habits on a scale from 1 to 10 over the entire year? Sometimes during the year, maybe you ate better more consistently, and sometimes you let it go. What would your average score be for the year?
Yeah. Or did you focus attention on trying to actively improve your eating habits?
Yeah.
That can contribute to the score as well.
Exactly.
The next one is going to be your daily movement habits. Were you going for walks regularly? Were you trying to incorporate more movement despite what was going on around you?
Yeah, were you generally more active? This isn't just workouts. If you worked out, fantastic. But if you didn't, was movement on your radar at all this year? Were you trying to do more housework? Were you trying to walk instead of driving somewhere? Did you go on more walks in general?
Yeah.
Did you pick up a new workout routine? Whatever it is for you, how did your movement go this year? And then the next one is positive self-talk. This one is an interesting one because I think a lot of people wouldn't put it on their weight loss assessment. But for us, it's a big one because the way you talk to yourself and the way you think really does influence your results. And it influences the way that you show up in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because if you, like we've said in previous episodes, if you talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend or, even a child, and you talk to them with a sense of compassion, you're more likely to do things that are going to move you forward. Whereas if you talk to them like an angry boss, really yelling and screaming and in a negative way, you're less likely to want to do those things.
Yeah.
It sounds easy to conceptualize like when it's an external thing, like our boss yelling at us or we're talking to someone else, but we don't consider how do we talk to ourselves every single day.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're thinking about rating yourself in this category, think about was I aware of my self-talk? If you weren't aware of it at all, you're probably going to have a much lower score because that's something you need to work on next year. You need to work on building that awareness of the way you're speaking to yourself.
Yeah.
And then also just think about like when I made mistakes, did I judge myself harshly for that? When I was doing anything, looking at my progress during the year, was I encouraging myself or was I putting myself down and telling myself how much I suck and how much I shouldn't even bother because I just can't ever get it right? So really think about what would you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 with your inner self-talk?
And the last one in these categories is your focus and priority. And this one kind of undermines all of this because if we're prioritizing our weight loss goals or our fitness goals, whatever goals you have, that's going to mean that you're going to make time for things. You're going to want to change your eating habits. You're going to want to incorporate more movement. And it's fine not to have these goals as a priority if you've got other priorities that maybe take precedence, and it's being honest with yourself. So again, scale of 1 to 10, mark where you feel your focus and your priority level was at with your weight loss goals this year.
And I think this is a really helpful one because it helps you go, okay, if this was a high priority for me and my scores in eating, movement, and positive self-talk were fairly low, why is that? What happened there? Versus if weight loss was not much of a priority, maybe you need to look ahead at, do I want this to be more of a priority this year? Is that going to improve my scores and then my results? So that's just a different way to think about it is, where was your priority this year? Was weight loss a priority? Yes or no? There's no right or wrong answer again. It's just getting honest with yourself and being aware of what you're spending your time and energy on.
Yeah. And then following on from this exercise as well, you want to start asking yourself some questions, reviewing what you've put down on paper and what the numbers that you've given yourself of, what were the results that you achieved this year? What were the specific things? Like focus on things that you may have achieved. Maybe you did improve your eating habits. Maybe you did incorporate more movements and really highlight and be appreciative of those small wins.
Yeah.
Much like the whole life assessment, we want to look at things that we did well.
Yeah.
And how can we do more of those things?
And another thing with the specific results, especially if weight loss is something that you're working on, what were your specific weight loss results this year? Did you lose weight this year? Even if it's just you lost a kilo over the year, that's at least going in the right direction. If that's a goal of yours. Did you gain weight this year? That's important to know. The actions you took this year led to weight gain. That's a really helpful thing to know moving forward. Or did you just maintain this year? Again, a super helpful thing to know is how to maintain your weight. And so if you know that this year, the actions you took and the way that you lived led to you maintaining your weight, that's super helpful, because now you know, well, if you want to continue maintaining next year, continue doing what you're doing. But if you want to lose weight next year, maybe let's dial some things up and look at what areas can I maybe improve a little bit to flip that from a maintenance to a bit of a loss.
So that's it for today's episode, guys. We gave you a lot of things to consider in this episode. If you want to do this yourself, which I highly encourage you to do, go back and listen to this and work through it. Again, giving yourself scores in each of those areas. Start with the whole life assessment, review what you did, review the specific weight loss habits as well and how you went on that, answer the questions for yourself. We hope you got some really good takeaways from this episode. We will be back in the next episode telling you all about how to plan 2022. So look forward to that one.
Yeah.
And guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.